Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. We've got a Monday afternoon edition. Super excited to welcome Payo Time. You can find him. Let me get his banner going here. You can find him at Payo Time on Twitter and also on YouTube as well. All the links are in the description, as well as some of our promotional opportunities. So please check those out. And thanks in advance for your patronage. But Payo, appreciate you being here. Tell everybody about yourself, what I may have missed, anything you got going on coming up.
Ted, it is awesome to be here today. Thanks so much for reaching out. For anyone who's watching on my channel, this is a dual stream. I haven't done a lot of these, but I'm very thankful that I can talk some football today with Ted. And make sure you go subscribe to his channel. Links in the description below. But dude, I'm so excited. It's the off season. It's the post draft. The purpose of the NFL draft is to sell hopes to the fans, right? And right now, I love hearing the hot takes about each NFL team, and I'm really excited. I see we got some awesome people in the chat, like Brian Culp and Silly Fun Guy and Daniel. We got Grandizer. Oh, elite chat today. Well, I Like Dogs is there.
I'm just catching up. It's already coming, no doubt about it.
Awesome.
They're talking about a lizard, and wow, I don't even know anything about that. And I know
Grandizer always off on interesting adventures on the internet.
Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, Silly Fungi. There we go. My wife said I should do lunges to stay in shape. That would be a big step forward. Oh,
Silly Fun Guy is one of the funniest people on the internet.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Always some good dad jokes. I've got a few myself if we get a chance. I have a feeling with the way this chat is going.
I love it.
Culp, it's going to be tough to keep up. Say I Like Dogs. NFL schedule gets released this Thursday. Well, does it? I mean, Initially it was supposed to, but then what was it? Ari Meyerhoff came off today and said maybe delayed or something.
Yeah, but since then, I feel like there's been a number of places, and I did get a notification on the Rams app that the Rams schedule is being released on Thursday. So, hey, Jared. Yeah. So I'm excited. I want to see, who the Rams are playing.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, we know who they're playing. It's where and when. Oh, yeah. And then we know where. We just don't know when.
It's true. It's true.
So yeah. Jared Ramirez saying good luck. Enjoy the stream. Thank you. And Bradley James is saying, hey, Payo, how you been?
Bradley.
We got Eva Lee's in the house, Niner fans. Ball talk time. Absolutely. Yes. So should we start off talking about current events real quick and just talk a little bit about Ian Rappaport had come out, and he said that he was, I think around the 29th of April, he had said that if Purdy wasn't ready to go, that he could see Darnold starting the season for the 49ers, and 49ers Twitter went bananas. Most of the people who like Lance were very upset and saying, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about," and can't be true. Something's off. And then of course today he came back and said that he got pushback from the front office, and and so most of us who were upset about it are feeling a little bit better. But it just makes you wonder. I mean, Ian Rappaport, he's not the type to make things up, right? So he was definitely hearing something different. Now he's hearing, that we value Lance. I just wish we would just say we valued him all along. It frustrates me that it's mixed messaging.
But Ted, what would an offseason be for the 49ers if they didn't have quarterback drama? It seems like every year it's something. I say that jokingly, but I do think honestly, these reports, I do think it's half kind of, it could be like Rappaport taking one opinion of someone, and the way that he phrased it kind of made it more it blew up a little bit more than it needed to. I would be shocked, barring like injury to Lance and Purdy. I would be shocked to see Sam Darnold week 1 personally. But hey, East Coast.
Yeah, that's Jess from East Coast Red and Gold. Her crew goes every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Maddie B, Bex, and Ty Alston, great crew. So everybody be sure and check them out. Sure and like and subscribe. Yeah, I think barring an injury from Trey Lance, I feel the same way. I don't know how you could possibly start Darnold. Splitting starter reps doesn't mean that, there's an equal chance that Darnold could be the starter. Darnold doesn't know the playbook. Lance only has 4 games experience, but he's got 4 games in the regular season, plus a lot of preseason, plus 2, camps and OTAs and all that kind of stuff. I just think it's a big leg up, and I think he's honestly better already than Sam Darnold, but only improving each time he plays.
See, I am going to politely disagree with you on that. Not that he isn't, but I don't think he's proven it yet. And it's crazy to think, because I was talking to one of my 49er friends, and he said last year around this time, he said the 2 greatest mysteries in the NFL are Trey Lance and Jordan Love. And then this year, around the draft, I just was talking to him. I'm like, hey, do you remember what you said a year ago, that 2 of the greatest mysteries in the NFL are Trey Lance and Jordan Love? And I feel like a year later, we still haven't really solved those mysteries. And I think that Trey Lance definitely has the potential. I think that there's some concerns, just like the biggest concern being his health and his injury and well-being. Is he going to be one of those players that can stay healthy and stay on the field?
Yeah, that's about my only concern for Trey Lance is, can he stay healthy? If he does, he's almost certain to improve. And if he can get to his ceiling or near it, I think he'll end up being better than Brock Purdy, just because Purdy is short. He's 6'1.5" and he has kind of a weak arm. And that was before the UCL injury. So who knows what it'll be like after. There's a chance he could improve his strength. I don't think it's likely, given the brevity, the shortness of his rehabilitation that he's going to have.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I see Nifty takedown. Yeah, we're doing good, man. Thanks, Nifty.
Oh, hey, Nifty, I can totally relate to, when the Seahawks owned us, they were my least favorite team too. And so, 4 sweeps, we'll do that. I know you guys won the important one, supposedly, and got the Super Bowl win, but I wouldn't be, I'd be lying if I said I didn't think we were going to sweep you guys again this year.
I respect that take, but I have to have hope, and I do think there is reasons, and which we'll get into, I'm sure, of why the Rams might be able to finally break that that losing streak in the regular season. Oh, hey, Beto, good to see you.
Sorry, go ahead. And so you have hope that you can. Yeah, I mean, I talked to 2 draft experts recently. Let's see, there was Alex Barber and John, I'm blanking on his last name, Vogel. So Alex is a Steelers fan. They're both from Pennsylvania, they're both like Pennsylvania teams. Alex Barber's a Steelers fan, and John Vogel is an Eagles fan. And they both felt like the Rams crushed the draft, and that the Rams were going to give the Niners and Seahawks trouble. And they even, at least one of them, were saying they thought the Seahawks might beat the Niners for the division. I don't think they thought, I put in my initial title for the show, I said, have the Rams do enough to overtake the Niners or something like that. And I was saying to be provocative, and I don't think the Rams did, but you never know. I mean, you guys still have Stafford, you still have Kupp, still have Aaron Donald. And if you put some good pieces around them from the draft, and maybe some free agents, and maybe a trade before the deadline, who knows?
Well, and some of the hope that I think the Rams do have in being better than people think they're going to be is they have pretty much an entire new defense. I think that we only have Jordan Fuller, Ernest Jones, and Aaron Donald returning on defense in their starting role. We have some players that have been with the team that are going to get some new opportunities for sure. But a lot of these rookies that the Rams have brought in are going to get opportunities to play right away. And some people that might be concerning, but I think that the Rams defense is going to look drastically different next year. With the amount of roster turnover that the Rams have had, there is something to be said about new coaching, new ideas, and new players, coming into scheme, into game plan. So I'm excited about that. Hey, Jim Everett.
Fifth. Oh, I see. He's counting the ones before the Super Bowls, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't count those. Sorry.
I always will.
We got a parody account for Bryant Culp. It's Cryant Bolt. Rams' new nickname for Rookie Rams' new nickname for the team. Yeah, no, that's probably a little bit of truth to that.
On defense,
sure. Yeah, Diaper Dandies. Nifty Takedown says, even when the 49ers had Jimmy G, Brock Purdy was their best QB. I hope he starts because he's an amazing underdog story. I hope Mr. Irrelevant does the same thing. So, yeah, I mean, Brock Purdy, he's a great story. He did really well for us last year. I would say the offense looked the best with Brock Purdy. It's looked under Kyle Shanahan since he's been in San Francisco. It's a lot to like. What's not to like is that, some things are going to change between 22 and 23, and also the injury. He injured his UCL, and we don't know when he'll be back. And it could take a while. I mean, they're hoping for 6 or 7 months, but even then, he has to get synced back up with the offense and into game shape. I've been saying ever since the surgery was completed that I thought week 5 after being on IR for 4 weeks, or week 7 after going on PUP for 6 weeks, I think are the two most likely outcomes for Purdy. And that would give Lance a chance to get started.
Yeah. Well, do you want to shift to a bit of a draft talk? Because I have a question for you or two about the draft.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm wondering, and you watching live with us now, thanks for tuning on in. And you guys, let us know the answer to this question in the chat, because we want to hear your take as well. Is what do you think the Niners' best pick of the draft was, and what do you think what round of the draft did they do the best in? And I'll answer what pick I think the Rams' best pick was, and what round the Rams did the best in the draft total.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people like Jake Moody in the 3rd round because we need a kicker. I just, 3rd round kickers haven't worked out very well historically, so I hope he bucks the trend. My favorite pick. Ooh, that's tough. I mean, it might be. I like one of our 7th rounders a lot, actually. Braden Willis, the H-back and tight end, I like a lot. I also like Robert Beal, I believe was a 5th round pick, defensive end out of Georgia. And D. Winters, I think, was in between. It might have been 5th or it might have been 6th. Linebacker out of TCU. I like all 3 of those picks a lot. Not as wild about Latu, the 3rd round tight end. Jair Brown, I like as a safety, but I don't think we'll see a lot of him in 2023. He's there to replace Gibson in 2024.
Okay, yeah, and I would say I really did like what the Rams did in the draft. I'm a big fan of it. But the more and more research I've done into the players that the Rams have drafted, my favorite pick from the Rams draft this year is Byron Young. I really liked his story. He used to work as a Dollar General and manager or something like that, and just his work ethic, the way he carries himself. And I'm so excited to see him come in. He gets to play next to Aaron Donald. And this Rams pass rush really needs some new life in it. It wasn't that great last year, or it was inconsistent last year, let me say. But I really like that pick for the Rams in the 3rd round. And then in terms of the actual best round of the draft, the Rams did such a good job in the 5th round getting talent that maybe you wouldn't have thought you would get in the 5th round. But a lot of these players, as I read up on them, I really think the Rams have a shot to do something special with some of these 5th-round picks. And yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, it was a deep draft, just not a lot of star quality players, which is a great time to have a lot of late picks like we did. So that's why, even though we had the least amount of draft capital in the draft, I think the Niners did pretty well. Also, we didn't have a lot of needs. Playing a banner down below of people we lost and people I see replacing them. Some of the people were drafted this year. Some of the people were drafted last year. Some of them are free agents. But I feel like we've done a pretty good job, other than maybe right tackle. Mm-hmm. And we did just restructure Christian McCaffrey's contract to free up $10 million. I think we had $3 million in the bank, if you will. And then I think when we restructure Bosa, it'll free up about $6 to $8 more million. So that might be enough for a right tackle.
Isn't Bosa's deal going to be like one of those blockbuster deals?
Yep. But in 2024, he's on his 2023, he's on his 5th-year option. Is that right?
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
So it's like $17 million. Yeah. But if you basically pay him a vet minimum plus 1/5 of his bonus, then you could get him for $8 or $9 million in one season instead of 17, and you could save 7, 8, 9 million that way. So we're expecting more savings once we extend Bosa for 2023.
That makes sense.
Then after that, then it starts getting tougher for sure.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I want to call out Beto's here. He started a new account called Lakers Sickness too, to go with Niners Sickness. He's saying, let's go Lakers. He does live streams on the 49ers podcast. I've done a couple of them. Awesome. And I missed the one Saturday, unfortunately, because I was at my folks' house and didn't have a good streaming setup. See here, Stio Supremo said, give him a fake answer. He's a spy. Payo's cool, Steve. Don't worry. It's all good. If Trey Lance starts and does slightly better than average, will Brock Purdy get a chance, or will the Niners stick with Lance?
That's a good question.
I mean, I think it depends on how Lance does and how the team's doing. I think if Lance struggles or the team is losing, then they'll put Purdy in. If the tough question is if Lance is playing well and the team is losing, or if the team's winning and Lance is playing poorly, then what do you do, right? I mean, and also, what if Lance is playing poorly but he's still improving, and you can just see he's probably going to keep improving if he gets more experience. That's where the really hard decision is. Like you say Purdy is up here and Lance is coming up like this, but he hasn't caught him. What do you do?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting question for sure.
Definitely.
But I think that if Lance comes in and plays well, then we'll make him the starting QB, and Purdy will end up being the backup that he was sort of drafted to be, if you want.
And ultimately, from what we've seen of Kyle Shanahan since he's been the 49ers head coach, he really doesn't care about where you were drafted. He cares about who gives the Niners the best chance to win the game. So even if Trey Lance was playing, decent, I think if Shanahan believes that Purdy gives them the best chance, then he'd make sure that happens.
No doubt about it. Jim Everett says LeGoat 3-1. He thinks that the Lakers are going to win tonight to go 3-1.
Tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I picked the Warriors in 7 because the Air Corgi did. I'm kind of joking, but there's this thing where there's Corgi at the top of the stairs and they throw the basketball up and he hits it and it comes down the stairs. And then if it lands in one, it's Lakers. Other, it's Warriors. And as the Air Corgi, predicted the Warriors in 7, he did predict the Lakers would go up 3-1. So I am picking the Warriors to win, but it's with much trepidation because I'm going against Air Corgi, who is, it's kind of a legend on Twitter. So we'll see. Steve Supremo says the 2 starters are going to be the QBs that weren't drafted. Okay, except for they were all drafted, so I don't know what that means. Anyway, I guess there is the one that we picked up, Brian or Brendan Allen or somebody like that from the Bengals, who's like basically our 4-string QB. But I would imagine he was drafted too at some point. Bebop says Lynch compared D Winters to Greenlaw. Yeah, they're basically doppelgangers. Greenlaw, except for D Winters, is even faster than Dre Greenlaw, and maybe an inch shorter, but roughly the same size. There's a lot to like with D Winters out of TCU. Exotic Soy Sauce says Yo Payo Rams on top. There you go.
Sub soy sauce.
Say how's it going? He said, not gonna lie, Jake Moody is him. That's interesting. Harbaugh came out with a quote and he said, 3 things you can count on: death, taxes, and Jake Moody. So that was a good quote for sure. I don't know. He's been pretty good, but it's different kicking in the pros compared to kicking in college. So I hope it translates. We'll see. I mean, put it this way. People were kind of up in arms about drafting a kicker in the 3rd, but imagine that Zane Gonzalez beats out Jake Moody, and then we have to trade Moody for pennies on the dollar just to get something back for him because you could never expose him to the practice squad.
Yeah.
You really want to see Niners Twitter burn. There's your recipe right there.
Yeah, no kidding. Like as Rams fan, like I kind of want to see it, but like I get it.
I'm sure. I'm sure that's why I mentioned it. I'm just being honest. I mean, I can just see what would happen there. It would be a total. I mean, people were mad enough about it if he's good, let alone if he isn't good. So
and like the reality is, you got to give with kickers, they have a way shorter leash than other positions that are drafted high, and so it would take Moody showing up to camp being out of shape and just out of not being able to adjust to NFL speed. So there'd be a lot that would need to go wrong there, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Jake Moody takes that job and he'll be the Niners kicker for a while.
I would hope so, but we'll see. As far as other guys, well, let's go through some of the chat here because I'm way behind there. We got Justin says taco so yummy to the Rams. So yummy to the Rams. I'm not sure I know that one.
Not sure what he means by that, Justin.
Me neither. He says, I'm excited to see the Rams' new punter, Ethan Evans.
Yes. Oh, so excited for Ethan Evans, our new punter. Yes. He's a D2 punter, but he's got a boot.
So that's to replace Hecker. Is that right?
Well, we let Hecker go last offseason, and then we had Riley Dixon, who was the former Giants punter, but we let him walk. And so Ethan Evans is our new punter. And we're going to have, rookie punter. Actually, pretty much our entire special teams is probably going to be rookies.
Oh, wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, good luck. And hopefully show them some patience. Ramelia Sports Report in the house saying Rams win their 5th. The GOAT wins his 5th. We'll see. That would be a debacle. I mean, I can't, seeing how the refs have been so far in the Lakers Warriors series, it's hard not to say that they're not pushing for Lakers Celtics in the finals, but we'll see how it actually turns out. I think there's a big storyline there as LeBron's aging and they both have 17 rings. Who gets the 18th? I think it's a pretty compelling storyline. I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see. We'll see. Steven said, I found out today about Trey at the strip club. Oh, okay. So there's a joke about Trey going to the strip club after a loss. A lot of the Niners fans are unhappy about that. Saying Bebop Jones. They're just getting into it. I think I'll skip that. No QB will throw more than 15 times in the first few games. I think that's a little bit low. I mean, I think that's 25.
Yeah, that's a hot take.
Yeah, I think 25 is a more natural number for our offense. That's what we used to try and keep Jimmy below 30. I remember if we get Jimmy 25 passes or below, we had a pretty good chance of winning. Remilia Sports is worldwide. Let's see. See, Rams gear taking over Northern California. And not where I live. Jimmy played mid many games. They won a lot of those games, and Kyle never pulled Jimmy. It'd be odd for him to do this opposite for Lance. It wouldn't look good for Kyle.
That's a fair take. Yeah, very fair take.
That is.
That's contrary to what I said, but that's a really good point, Emilio.
No doubt about it. Evely says Jake Moody going to be goated. I'm here to learn why y'all just troll. So I'm sorry. So you said your favorite was of the Rams draft?
Byron Young. Yeah.
And what position does he play?
He's an edge rusher. Okay. But so out of high school, he didn't get any like scholarship opportunities or anything like that. So he started working at a Dollar General. And he became I think he became either an assistant manager or manager, maybe like an assistant to the manager situation. But he eventually did get signed on to a college. And then he, played at a very high level, transferred to Tennessee, and got drafted by the Rams, which really excited. So I'll say this. It's interesting because in my research, and again, I'm not well versed in the Niners draft as much as Ted is here, but for my limited research, the state of the Niners is very different than the state of the Rams, where the Niners, they have a lot of their teams set for next year, and they're just, they're drafting for, depth. It looks like a lot of your players you drafted to be like depth at the secondary or special teams, where you still had 9 draft picks late, where the Rams, they had 14 draft picks. And because they only had 44 players on their roster going into the draft, they needed an abundance of new young talent on this Rams team. And it's going to be really interesting. I do think that the Niners are still set up to have a good season next year. And I do think the Rams have to play a little bit of the dark horse role. They have to play a little bit of the hey, you know what? We're the bit of that mystery team. There's a little bit of a surprise to us. But I really like what the Rams did in the draft, and I think they're going to be more competitive than what people are giving them credit for.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, both of the draft experts that I spoke to felt like, maybe not beat out the Niners or the Seahawks, but definitely make it tough on us and make it tough to come out of the West, where I was not expecting that. So, I think some people mentioned you were saying a retool, while a lot of us thought it was a full rebuild. And
you know what? I'll say this. It's tough to justify it not being a rebuild when you cut your roster, when you let so many players walk. But the reality is, I think this is probably one of the biggest retools that you could ever say, while still justifying calling it a retool. But I'm excited. Hey, Money.
Yeah, he was asking why would we get Darnold when we have 2 potential starters. Well, most of us are pretty sure we won't have 2 starters to start the season. And so Darnold, we got him for $3.5 million guaranteed. So that's not a big contract. He has $7 million in incentives in case he plays and plays well. He can make up to $10.5 million. But even then, that's not a lot for a quarterback in the NFL when they're going for upwards of $40-50 million a season now. So that's why we got Sam Darnold, is because he'll probably be the backup week 1 to Trey Lance, is what I expect. And I guess time will tell. Emiliano said, will they give Zane a real chance to beat Moody? It would be an ego hit for the 49ers if Zane legitimately beats out Moody. Yeah, I think it's kind of like Darnold and Lance. I think probably Moody would have to injure himself, but they're definitely going to wait and see. It would be a bummer, but ultimately, where you draft somebody, it gets you in the door. And if it's real high, then they'll keep you around if you're a first or second round pick. Maybe a third round pick buys you a year. But if you're not playing well, you'll be replaced regardless of your draft position. So, Let's see here. Moody will score third most points on team at least. 10 TDs for Ayuk would be 70. No, I mean, kickers almost always score the most on any team. That's pretty easy bet for most teams. 60, 17, bad math. LeBron going to need a walker soon. Well, yeah, he's deteriorating a little bit, but did you see that play where he tracked down Wiggins and broke up the pass and kept him from an easy layup and went running 8-10 rows up the stairs? I mean, he still knows when to turn it on and still can turn it on when he needs to. He's good at playing at 75% and knowing when to unleash that 100% rarely. So I'm not going to discount LeBron, especially since they're up 2-1. So they are arguing, so I'm not going to go into that. Said, yeah, 5 rings, it hurts your back, LOL. Bebop, I heard Vermillion. Oh, boy. Stafford only throws 15 times a game. Arm fatigue probably won't come back. Well, he did have that last season with his elbow, right? Are you guys feeling better about that now?
I really am. There was a lot of, mystery about Stafford last year. The reality is he wasn't, he got injured, and the off season he did have a procedure done that ideally he would have had extra time to kind of heal from that. But I think the Rams did the right thing shutting him down when they did. There was, I remember back in the season, there was reports about him like coming back later in the year, but when the Rams fell out of playoff contention, that just wasn't the thing to do. And I've seen videos of him slinging the rock around recently, like in the past 2 weeks. The guy looks good. Like he looks healthier than he's been from when the Rams brought him in. He looks lean. He looks strong. He looks like he's ready to go and score some tutties. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Puka Nacua, still getting his name. Yes, he is a wide receiver drafted by the Rams and in the 5th round. Very exciting. Kind of gets compared to Robert Woods a lot. And so we're excited about him coming in and being able to add to this wide receiver room.
Well, Bobby Trees, that's some high praise for sure, no doubt about it. So as far as we got Niner by Nature saying, are there any Rams fans around?
Oh, there are. We're around and we're growing, man.
Brutal. But a good draft will go a long way, I'm sure, to rebuilding the fan base. So
that's what we love.
These cities. Justin says NBA playoffs, Lakers, Warriors, semifinals. We got a little bit of spelling issues here, but that's all right. 7 p.m. That's right. 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So get ready for that. It should be a heck of a game. Scott Foster is refereeing, so hopefully, I was just saying on the timeline today, I don't want them to help the Warriors. I just want even. I just call it even. Yeah. And let's have a good game. No injuries, good game, no refs. That's what I like. So I'd like to. We really haven't had that yet this series, so I hope we do. So Steve-O's saying funny because Cowboys were called Wally World like Walmart. He was saying Greg Hardy is working at Walmart. See here, Payo Yayo. Oh.
Hey, G. Yeah. People like to have fun with my name on the internet.
Yeah, it's just that that has some other meanings. But hey, we'll leave that alone. 4 years for $4 million for Beal Jr. Yep, $1 million a year. That's a good deal, especially if he can turn into a viable edge. Robert Beal. One reason people like him is he has a really fast first step and he's really fast overall. So some people think maybe he could fill the D Ford role. We also signed Austin Bryant from the Lions, who is real fast. So those are 2 people. We really haven't had that since D Ford got injured and hasn't played for a couple years. So that would be nice. If we're trying to recreate our 2019 D line, we got Bosa. He's obviously improved since then. We got Armstead. He's kind of stayed about the same or maybe dropped off a little. But now we've got Javon Hargrave, who at least from a pass rush perspective is every bit as good as DeForest Buckner. And then that's the big question mark is will it be Drake Jackson or Cleveland Farrell or Robert Beal or Austin Bryant on that other edge, or maybe it'll be all of them. That's the other answer. So, let's see here. It's great to see an actual. Oh boy! All right, we've done that joke. Niner by nature, Rams fan nature approves. All right.
Do you have birds in your background?
No, it's my son. So give me 1 sec. I'll be right.
No worries. No worries. That's awesome. Well, everyone who's watching, thanks for tuning on in. I appreciate you. And let me know in the chat. Let us know in the chat. What are some of your hot takes and your questions about the Rams and the Niners draft? I personally think that, one of the things I love about the NFL draft is it sells hope to your fan base. Whether you are the worst team in the league or the best team in the league, you can get excited because there's new players on your team. It's one of the things I love about the NFL. And let me know what you guys think.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, my son is 3 and he likes to be chased, and when you chase him, he squeals like that. And so
that's hilarious.
So my apologies for that.
Maybe he's training up to be, a running back from the NFL one day.
He definitely could be. He's quite the little jock for sure. He's got way better coordination than I ever had. That's for darn sure. You might be saying, "Wait, Purdy sit behind Darnold?" That sounds kind of crazy, even to say out loud. No, I mean Purdy sit behind Darnold because Purdy's injured. If he's healthy, then Purdy starts. Yeah. But just a lot of people don't think he'll be healthy week 1, or at least he'll be healthy enough to practice, but he won't have practiced enough to start week 1.
Right.
So we'll see. Because that basically it's like Kyle said 6 to 8 months, and so 8 months from March 10th is actually November 10th, which is actually Thursday Night Football of Week 10. Is sort of I don't even want to say the worst case scenario because it's like the worst reasonable case scenario. Mm-hmm. It could definitely be worse than that or longer, depending on if he gets hit in that elbow. Who knows what could happen. So, Sam Darnold, the best QB in SF? No.
Hey, how's it going? Yes. Yeah, we talked earlier about how I kind of think that's just clickbait for the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. It was Rappaport came out with it, and then a local reporter, Matt Mayoko, said that Purdy had he was the best thrower of the football in Niners history. So counting Joe Montana and Steve Young. There, yeah. Well, he's a company guy, so he's hearing that from somebody in the organization saying that. That's not something. He's not the type of guy to make something up. I think they're just trying to get different narratives out there and be deceptive about what's going on.
Yeah.
Moody's going to be the missing piece to Super Bowl 6. I hope so, Bryant. That'd be great.
Hot take, Bryant. Yeah.
I mean, I think less maybe about his field goal kicking because Robbie Gould was great at that, but maybe about kickoffs, getting all touchbacks instead of getting gashed in the return game.
Well, and here's something I'll say this because I haven't heard any 49ers content creators say this. You save so much money by going with Jake Moody over Robbie Gould, right? Wasn't Gould the highest paid kicker in the NFL?
I think he was second or third.
Okay, he was up there, right?
Over $5 million, yeah.
And so that alone can help you just with talent, not necessarily at the quarterback or wide receiver positions, but at you're in your linebacking core, in your secondary, right? Just having that extra cap space, extra wiggle room. And I don't think that Jake Moody is necessarily going to be better than Robbie Gould right away. Maybe he has the potential to be, but to me, that's why the Niners made the decision. And that's a valid reason to go for a rookie kicker, is just to save some money.
There you go. Yeah, no, you don't have to be better to be a better value. I always say that. So Niner by Nature was saying, Jim Everett, same here. It's Kyle I worry about. So he doesn't trust Kyle Shanahan. I just think for people who doubt Kyle, I mean, I doubt him a little bit as a GM because we've had this quarterback mess for so long. But I think once we see him with the real quarterback, doubts will fade. I think we saw a little preview of that with Purdy, but just imagine Purdy if he was taller and had a bigger arm, what he could do. And I think that's what we could see with Lance if we just give Lance a chance. Give Lance a chance. That's my little chant I've been doing this offseason. So Shay says Rams go 10-7 and split.
I'd like it, Shay. I'd like it. That would exceed all media expectations on the Rams.
I'm saying for the Niners 12-5, but I think 5-1 in the division. I think we sweep the Rams, sweep the Cards, and split with the Seahawks because I don't see us winning in Seattle this year.
Okay.
But we'll see. We'll see. Ready for another NFC champie.
Let's see it. Let's see it.
So just remember, there's no more Drop Tart to help you out anymore. And no more Jimmy G. So glad the bandwagons are out of here. That is one nice thing about the reset is you get rid of the bandwagons. A lot of people are really unhappy with Warriors fans, and I can tell you it's not the ones like me who've been around forever. It's the bandwagons. They come on and they're disrespectful and they say crazy stuff. And it's frustrating to watch.
Well, and so Exotic Soy Sauce, I know he's also talking about the bandwagon Ram fans that came on the past year or two. And I'll say this as someone who and you probably run into this too. When you're doing this YouTube thing and you're talking about a specific team, it's normally safe to assume the majority of your audience knows what you're talking about when you talk about your third string guard or your backup center or your backup linebackers, right? Where sometimes when you have these bandwagon fans that come in and they'll just talk about oh, Cooper Kupp is great. And you're like, yeah, Cooper Kupp is great. And that's easy to talk about. And then you're like, okay, next we're going to talk about, our third string guard. And they're like, who is that? And you're like, dude, come on. Right? And it is nice when you can talk to people who kind of know what they're talking about. And that's not to discourage new fans who are learning. But I find that when bandwagon fans come around, they really only know star players, and then they move on after the team's not doing what they wanted to.
Yeah, on to the next winning team, and they never knew the pain of waiting for the championship to come, and so they have no respect for anybody else who's waiting for it, and it's they can be pretty vile folks, no doubt about it, for sure. Shay tweeted that, says Rams third in apparel, merch sales of all team, SF not top 3. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe last year after you guys won the Super Bowl, but let's look a few years back. I mean, a lot of us already have our merch, right? So, that we've bought many years ago. I bought this in 1996. So, ultimately, I think after you win a Super Bowl, you would kind of expect that.
No, totally. Especially all the Rams Super Bowl merch that came out. But I will say this and I know Shay's really knowledgeable. Hey, what's up, CG? Shay's really knowledgeable about the Rams and what it means for them moving back to the LA area. And they're still building, a brand in that area. They're still, building their fan base. It's tough when you leave a market for 20 years, then going back to that market. And there's still some people that, that are still coming around. And please note that my comparison to Bobby Trees was mainly heard through a third party, but I also think it's mainly in build and possible role. Puka is not on Bobby Trees level yet. Yeah.
I like Dogs says you should do a live when the schedules come out.
I plan on it. Yep.
There you go. Justin says Rams house makes some noise.
Yeah.
Let's trade Sean McVay for Kyle Shanahan.
No, I don't want you guys keep Shanahan.
See, I'm the same way. Well, like I said, I think you give Kyle a decent quarterback, you'll see what he can really do. We got a glimpse of it with Purdy, and I think we'll see it with Purdy or Lance this season. We'll see. Jim says, "Shout out to Ted's son." Literally, excuse the pun. Shrieking. Like, is that a bird? I was like, no, it's my son shrieking.
Well, I could tell what it was.
No, I'm glad you mentioned it because I wasn't sure if people could hear, and so it's not the kind of thing. It's distracting all that going on during the show for sure. Rams did better in the draft, in my opinion, but are they going to win more games than the 49ers? 49ers stacked compared to Rams. Rams needed those picks. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's sort of one of those things is one of the greatest things the Rams have going for them is the amount of unknown talent they have on their roster. And you hope that turns into something. Because like you said earlier in the show, one good draft class can change your team dramatically, right? And so that's the hope. But I do think, the Niners, they have a more consistent roster to what they had last year, and they made it to the NFC Championship game last year. They were the number 2 seed in the NFC, right? So that's the standard that the Rams are going to have to, try and compete with.
And I think the Seahawks are in between, if you want my honest opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely the Rams look like they've – but I would say the dramatic changes like from 5-12 up to maybe 8-9 or 9-8 or somewhere in there. Someone said 10-7, maybe. That seems a little optimistic to me.
Mm-hmm. And I am totally okay being accused of being an optimist when it comes to be the Rams. But I do think that, number one, the new influx of talent, but also the Rams are going to be a lot healthier next year. They have a lot of players come back from injury, which I think puts them, a bit higher than that 8 or 9 win total. But yeah. Yes, and silly fun guy here. He's talking about Steve Oliva and Logan Bruss, who are 2 guards. So Bruss was drafted in the 3rd round last year, and then Oliva in the 2nd round this year. And that to me is exciting because, especially in this Rams-Niners rivalry, if you were to ask me what's the number one reason that the Niners have been able to beat the Rams the past 7 games, I think it's your pass rush. Stafford got hit 7 times the last time he played you guys. So I think that we definitely got to, give Stafford more time. We got to, get secure on that offensive line. That was the Rams' biggest issue last year. Logan Bruss got injured in the offseason of his rookie year. So having him back, hopefully he's a mauler. And I'm hoping that Oliva can come in and start right away and that this O-line can really take a step forward.
But Logan Russ, maybe he improved since his rookie year. But, if I recall correctly, he had lost his job before he got injured.
No. He got injured early in the offseason. He never got a chance to earn the job because it was a really early camp injury. I remember being so sad about it because injuries always suck, but when they happen in the offseason, especially of your rookie year, you never get to know what if. So, yeah, I'm hoping he'll come in and he'll be able to win that job. And if it's not him, I think it's likely Coleman Shelton, who I wouldn't be upset with in that guard role at all.
Fair enough. Hot take: Jake Moody throws a TD against the Rams.
That's
smoking
right.
hot,
That's a hot. You got receipts on the internet, man.
There you go. Wow. Meter's Creator saying Bennett gonna start like the Niners do.
We haven't talked about Stetson Bennett at all.
Oh, Stetson Bennett.
That's who he's talking about. And yeah,
Drunk Purdy, I call him.
Yeah. So you know what? I'll say this. I knew about Stetson Bennett. I don't follow college football a lot, but obviously I knew about him because Georgia winning, the national championship in back-to-back years. And there's things I like about Stetson Bennett, but there's things that definitely are reasons that why people criticize it. But the reality is I believe he's an upgrade over our previous backup quarterbacks. So.
Looks like Johnny Chats must be a Seahawks fan or something. He says, "Sir, the Rams stink."
He's dissing everyone equally.
And he says 49ers lost the step. I don't know how we lost the step. We gained a Javon Hargrave. I think that's going to be huge for us. I'm glad we're not going overseas, strictly business. Yeah, you never want to add extra miles. The West Coast teams already travel a long way to play on the East Coast, and whereas the East Coast teams, most of them, it's short trips to the other teams on the East Coast. So, the Niners, Seahawks, and Rams typically a lot of times have the highest mileage counts for the season. Mm-hmm. So, I'm friends with 49er Faithful UK. I've got their flag up here,
That's cool.
in my corner. So I know they're all really heartbroken about it because they were thinking it would be Niners Jags at Wembley. So I'm definitely heartbroken for them. But for my selfish, team, health of the team, I think the Niners will be better off with less travel rather than more, ideally. So let's say Lions, Panthers, and Eagles are better now. The Lions are better. The Panthers are, I don't know. It depends on Bryce Young. I mean, so I would not put a lot of stock in a rookie QB if I was you. And the Eagles, they got a lot of really good-looking draft picks. A lot of I had a person on. He asked the question. He's a Seahawks fan, and he said, "Are the Eagles trying to prove that a college team can beat a pro team?" There's always that argument.
They're pretty close.
Can the best college team beat the worst pro team type of thing? And so they're just like Georgia North now, especially because they traded for DeAndre Swift from the Lions, who also went to Georgia. So you got a lot of Georgia players. But I will say I don't have a lot of faith in Jalen Carter. He reminds me of another JC, Jadeveon Clowney, who came out with motor and character issues and never lived up to his billing. Not that Clowney's a bad player. He's a fine defensive end. But when you're taking number one overall, you have really high expectations.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have really high expectations for Jalen Carter, and I think a lot of them might be let down. I would also say that, Jordan Davis and the linebacker they took last year haven't done much since they've been there. So, I don't know. We'll see. Everybody likes Ringo. Everybody likes Nolan Smith. But they might have reached on Nolan Smith. I saw a lot of people say he should have been more like a late second or third round pick rather than end of the first. So, Eagles. All right, look, they got the best offensive line in football. That looks like that'll stay. They only lost Suamalu, and I think they had I forget who they drafted that was the good guard center to replace him. But they've obviously got great weapons, great tight end, Dallas Goedert, second best blocking and catching tight end after Kittle. But they lost Miles Sanders, and they replaced him with like Penny and Swift, who are Penny is super injury prone, and Swift is kind of injury prone. So it'll be interesting to see. But they got a lot of rookies on that defense, so it might take them a year or two to really come together. I'm not ready to crown them. I still think it's us and them and the NFC. And then a step below, I've got Cowboys, Lions, Seahawks in that next tier. But we'll see. I'd be curious to know what your NFC rankings are.
Yeah, like I'll still put the Eagles and Niners up there for sure, mainly because of consistency. But then I think it gets really murky after that. I'm not as high on the Seahawks as a lot of people are. Not that they can't be good. They had what looks like a good draft, but I don't know. I'm curious. I still think that the Rams are going to be in the running for a playoff spot this year, and I know people will be like, "You're just an optimistic Rams fan," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And that's okay, because you can be optimistic about your team after a draft. If I'm still talking like that midway through the season and the Rams have a losing record, then okay, you can criticize me. But anyway, I'm
then we can call you a homer.
Yeah, you can call me a homer. I take pride in that. No worries.
I'm with you. I mean, it's the time to be optimistic. Absolutely. Yeah, no one has any losses.
It would totally suck if you, after the draft, are like, oh, man, my team is going to be lucky if they win 1 or 2 games, right? Like that would be the worst.
No doubt about it. It would be terrible to have that feeling. Exotic says 3 months of not throwing, 3 months of recovery from Purdy's injury after surgery. Yeah, that's best case scenario. So it could easily be 7 total months or 8. So we'll see. So ultimately, there's not a lot of data. The only QB who ever had the same surgery as Nick Mullins. And let's be honest, do we know if Nick Mullins is back 2.5 years later? We don't. Yep. I mean, we certainly don't know if he was back 6 months later. So Johnny Chat said Josh Allen had the same injury and kept playing. No, he injured the same ligament. It was not the same injury. Josh Allen had a sprain. Purdy and Nick Mullins had complete tears. And so they were able to get a repair plus a brace rather than a full Tommy John or a hybrid, which is a partial repair replacement. So neither of them had to have it replaced or reconstructed, but they did have to have a repair. And that's totally different when you have a surgery than what happened to Josh Allen. So don't try and sit there and say like Josh Allen's tough and these guys aren't. It has nothing to do with toughness. It has to do with Purdy literally couldn't play. Like during the game, he couldn't even feel his hand. So got Ryan from No Border Sports in the house. And what up, everyone? Ryan's a good friend to all of us. He's super helpful. His channel's blowing up. Make sure everybody goes and subscribes. Doing great things and teaching a lot of others of us what he's doing. I'm so grateful to him for sharing that knowledge. Some people jealously guard that, but Ryan is free and easy and helpful, and can't say enough good things about that. And someone's repeating something, so I'm not going to repost it. CG saying gold wanted more money, so yes, Jake Moody is cheap. Yeah, I mean, 1 million compared to 5. It's a huge difference. In fact, he may not even count against the cap. I'm not sure. I think it's only veterans, but still, it's on 1 million instead of 5 million against the cap. It's a big difference. Moody is half what gold would be, 2.5. Is he 2.5? I didn't realize that. I thought he was less. I guess third round picks could make. I don't think they can make 2.5, do they? Especially third round comp pick.
I'd have to look into that. I have no clue. Yeah.
I think that's wrong. But we'll see. Everybody's just saying hi. Just realized our only linebacker is Ernest Jones. Yeah, you lost Bobby Wagner. That's not good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Rams linebacking core. I will say this. So Ernest Jones is a third-year player, and he's shown flashes of being a really good player in his first 2 seasons. I think this might be a player that really takes a leap forward in his third year. When I hear him talk now at team press conferences and stuff, there's something different about him, and he's matured. He's definitely, he's very well spoken, and you can tell he's that football IQ. He's got that. So I'm excited for Ernest Jones for sure.
And then Exotic saying Jake Hummel and Christian Rosaboom are still there.
Yes, they're linebacker. Yeah.
Jim Everett saying E40 is a bandwagon fan. Not true. He is OG Warriors fan back from Roracle days, back when the Niners were terrible. Or the Warriors were terrible, pardon me. Let's see here. Just trying to catch up, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. Also, we are coming up on an hour here. How are you doing on time?
I'm good for another 5.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
yeah, me too. I got to take over on daddy duty.
Nice.
What were some final thoughts on the draft? So we talked about who we liked. I was saying I didn't really care for Cam Latu, our third round pick out of Alabama, the tight end. I guess he runs good routes, but he's not real athletic, and he doesn't have great hands, and he's not a great blocker. Maybe all that can be coached up because he has very little experience at tight end. He was a linebacker for 2 years. I don't know. And then I do like Ronnie Bell, the receiver out of Michigan.
I'm not gonna lie. When you guys drafted him, I was a little sad because I wouldn't have minded Robbie Bell and horns.
He reminds me a little more of Robert Woods because he blocks a lot. He's tough. Yeah. He's not real fast. But he's quick and he's kind of mid-size. He's not big. He's not small. But he had a good reputation for blocking at Michigan. So, and not just here and there, like consistently. And that's what, I think he could be a Juwan Jennings replacement because Juwan was an exclusive rights free agent. So we got him cheap for this year, but he'll be expensive next year and we'll probably lose him. So I imagine that's the plan with Ronnie Bell. And then we got a linebacker out of Purdue. in the 7th round. It was like our Mr. Irrelevant, even though he wasn't technically for the whole draft, but he was the Niners version of it, picked pretty late. It was a 7th round, our second 7th round comp pick. And, I don't know a lot about him. I'll just say that Purdue does turn out good linebackers, so there's some hope that he could be good. But D. Winters is the one that everybody's excited about out of TCU. Robert Beal, they're both really fast. So is this Darrell Luter, who can play boundary and nickel, and he's real fast as well from Southern Alabama, which I didn't even know was a thing until they announced it. I'd never even heard of Southern Alabama U. So, what are some of your final thoughts on the Rams draft?
Honestly, it was a really fun draft to be a Rams fan, especially on day 3. It seemed like the Rams always had a draft pick coming up on the little ticker. And it seemed like whenever they were about to pick, they went to commercial break when it was the Rams. It was like, oh, come on, why do you do that? But no, I always have a hard time criticizing a draft right away. I feel like you have to kind of hear what's going on in camp. Who are players that are getting reps? Who are players at risk of getting cut? And the reality is a lot of these Rams draft picks and undrafted free agents are going to get an opportunity to start on this team. And not that that's something you necessarily want to make a habit of doing every year, but it's the reality of the Rams situation. And as a fan, I'm excited to see how this little experiment goes.
There you go. Nifty says, if you're starter or retired, would you rather get Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady at their current ages and skill levels?
That's tough. I'd have to say Aaron Rodgers just because I just don't like Tom Brady at all.
There you go. I cannot stand Tom Brady, but I think I'd still take him because I think he's a better team player. Okay. And I feel like Rodgers is a diva.
Yep.
And I think he's kind of a cancer. I think at least Tom Brady could rally the troops one more time, especially because he grew up rooting for the Niners. He went to Sarah High School a few miles north of me here on the peninsula. So, I would take Tom Brady, even though I don't care for him. And I'd be really mad if he won another Super Bowl because it'd be even harder to cling to Joe Montana as the GOAT, right?
Right.
So, really tough after that. But well, good. Well, I just want to say thanks, Zach, for coming out. I appreciate you doing the show. It's been a lot of fun, as always. We had a great time the first time, so we'll have to do more of these. I want to thank the audience. The audience was banging, a lot of fun. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. And I'll just say peace and go Niners and go Dubs.
Go Rams, horns up, and peace out. Let's go Rams.
There we go. Thanks, everybody.